Welcome to today's #Wednesday Weekly, a weekly information session in collaboration with the voluntary sector and public sector partners. Today's session is on how to sustain and grow your organisation, and our host is Sadia Akram. Over to you, Sadia.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you for Action Together to have us. I really wanted to share a presentation and talk through the presentation and give you an idea of the kind of support that we're offering. And then maybe we can take some questions afterwards, if that's all right, a couple of minutes, and then questions. So I just want it to be a really informal session for us. Am I able to share the screen? Okay. Can everyone see the screen? Yeah, okay. So I'm Sadia Akram. I work with a community interest company called Society Consulting, which is a consultancy, so not-for-profit consultancy working to support civil society organisations, grassroots organisations really, working with mainly for the Steps to Recovery program. Sorry, Civil Society Consulting are a kick, but we do lots of different projects. And one of the projects that I've come to talk to you about, or initiative I've come to talk to you about, is called Steps to Recovery. And it was basically a government initiative from the government champions, community champions group. I don't know whether you've heard of that. It was an initiative from the government to help community grassroots organisations that were faith and minority-led groups to help them sustain themselves through and after the pandemic, to work with their communities, especially around the health messages. And what we offered through that is free sustainability support for faith-based organisations and their social action leaders, with a focus really on groups that were led or served the ethnically diverse communities, not necessarily only those diversity, but the communities, but those that are or probably were struggling more so than the others. So through the programme, the organisations were supported to obviously just able to support other vulnerable community members. And the whole point was really to help you or help organisations to work with their communities to deal with the negative impacts of the pandemic as an organisation. And obviously we saw that for some organisations and for really the community members, it felt like it was a real difficult and challenging time. And because we weren't able to get out there was no money, and actually there was a lot of impact on grassroots groups that were doing really, really good work, that were responding very quickly to what was happening, didn't really have time to think about them as an organisation. So really thinking about how we can help them become more resilient, sustainable with income generation, communication and partnership strategies, working for the future. So what we do is we offer a one-to-one information and advice session. So it's up to 3 days of support based on a programme where we work with you. And it's really thinking about some of the actions or some of the things that you might need as an organisation that you might need some support with. And it's spread kind of over 3 months-ish. So this kind of support might involve organisational or project planning. So it might be, actually, I want to do a project, I don't know how to do it, can you come and help me do this? It might be stuff around, actually, we're a group, we're not registered as a KIC or a charity or a company. What's the best way to do it? And we can help you through that process, thinking about the benefits of becoming a particular social entity, a legal entity. We look at income generation, so thinking about, actually, is applying for funding the only way, or are there any other ways that you can you can generate income, and how else do you fundraise? Are we able to help you with funding applications? I'm thinking about where that funding will come from, and identifying funders. So really thinking about strengthening the well-being and public health messaging, and obviously coming out of the pandemic, there was a strong focus on one, the messaging around keeping safe, but secondly, more so recently, was about vaccinations and really building that trust within the communities about the vaccination, but also informing them or helping them understand what the regulations are from the government. And we know, these have been really, really confusing. When we're working with our communities, this becomes, for them, it becomes quite frustrating. And if they have somebody, I guess, to come to help them with that, we want to enable that to happen. But we have to create or help organisations or groups be strong themselves to enable those messages to take place. So really thinking about after COVID, thinking about the recovery phase, and I guess we're in that place right now. So we run webinars as well on income generation, governance or business planning, communications. This is very, very important. We've got some guidelines on what you might want to put in place for your communications around your social media. It might be on your website, it might be newsletters, but really thinking about actually how do we get that message out there to communities. And really, if we're looking at funders, they want to see impacts. They want to see what kind of impact you're making on the communities that you're working with. So we do help organisations and groups with impact reporting. And I feel one of the most interesting aspects, or the most valuable aspects of this is to connect with other people like yourselves who are doing all this really great work, who can share that information amongst themselves. So you feel actually I'm not the only one here doing this. And I found this really, really valuable. We have a number of coffee mornings to enable people to kind of come together and talk about some of the challenges that they're facing. And this is across England, so we've got organisations in the Northeast, we've got organisations in London, and in the Northwest and in the Midlands as well, kind of having that opportunity to kind of say, you are not the only ones, we're all facing this really difficult time. And how do we best get through this and come through the other side together? So you may ask, who's going to deliver the support? I said earlier on that Civil Society Consulting is a KIC. It's an independent, not-for-profit social enterprise, and really our aim is to build cohesion, community cohesion, individual skills and institutional capacity. And we're committed to supporting smaller grassroots community-based organisations and faith groups in ethnically diverse communities. And I guess it's those people that are really making the difference in the community. So we really are wanting to help build capacity of those organisations who find themselves doing a lot of work responding to issues, but really don't feel like they have the support to build themselves and to think about planning for the future. And I guess this is where we are able to kind of come in and support them to do that, but enable them to show the work they've been able to do and the impact that they've been able to make through the impact reports. Or it might be something, we've done a few films for certain people, for certain organisations, to show how they've responded to the pandemic, but also the kind of work that they're doing and the impact that they're making within the communities. We have 2 lead advisors and really fantastic support team working with the organisation that works across England. We do have bit of a focus on Northern England, and obviously Rochdale and Oldham kind of hit that area, and we would love to work with organisations around that area to kind of help build them up. Some of the expertise in our team is, you know, we have members who are really fantastic and have loads of experience around fundraising, community engagement, organisational development and governance, which sometimes is not so strong in small groups. And thinking about how we communicate not only with our beneficiaries, but also with our funders, and thinking about how best to do that. And we have helped a number of organisations with, you know, some of their policies. It might be their safeguarding policy, or it might be guidance on communications policy, or even GDPR. So some of the languages that we can speak is Urdu. So I'm the person who can speak Urdu. We have Mark, who's one of our lead advisors, who speaks Portuguese, and we have Yasmin, who's brilliant, who speaks Mandarin, and Tagalog, which Francesca can speak. I don't know if anybody's heard of Tagalog, and I guess we can ask you a bit later on when the presentation's finished. So we thought it'd be really good to share some kind of case studies. And I guess one of the things that we do when we produce the impact report is to include case studies in there, because it does give an element of lived experience, and it gives a human touch to this about the support that you're giving. So Four Wings, based in Liverpool, an organisation that supports women survivors of abuse or trauma, delivering activities and workshops to help women become economically active. When we started to work with Steps to Recovery, one of the biggest challenges that they said that they were finding, and many other organisations find, is funding. And the time, you know, high levels of anxiety and stress amongst the staff and the service users for a number of things. One, because there was a lot to do, and secondly, they felt that the pandemic restricted them for on a number of things, but also there was not much support out there for them. So we supported the organisation over a 3 or 4 month period with an impact report, like I've just mentioned, based on a co-produced beneficiary impact survey. So we helped them put a survey together to then speak to their beneficiaries about the service that they had been given, and then wrote up or spoke to people, their beneficiaries, to get an idea of the kind of support that they've had, but the impact that they've had on them as women, as people who were not only living through the pandemic, but just as women who were trying to survive through the abuse and trauma, but making them more independent and empowering them to become able to be economically active for themselves. And also a film evidence their impact to funders, which again, you know, it is quite a powerful tool to have, but not all organisations, one, really have know how to put it together, but also secondly, really don't have the time to put it together. So we help them to do that, and we help them through a funding application for the National Lottery. Another example here is Mother and Child Welfare Organisation, which was down south, you know, struggling to secure core funding. So again, we helped them with a community engagement survey, which then was included in, the results were included in an impact report that we helped produce, measuring their kind of impacts and demonstrating how well their work is valued within the community and the difference it was making. And one of the things that they had identified as something that they needed some extra support with was a one-to-one communication workshop. So we were able to deliver and support them with that. So back to gallery again, and I guess the reason I'm going through these different organisations is to kind of show you the breadth of the organisations that we've worked with, and the types of organisations that we can work with and the areas. So the back gallery, which is based in Redcar and Cleveland, providing community development programmes and using really arts and tech skills. And you can understand through the pandemic, they had really suffered, closing down the gallery, but forced to kind of have their activities halted or postponed. And this did have a mental and a financial implications on the organisations, but also on the people that were working with that project. So again, we helped them conduct a community consultation. We helped them look at their governance, thinking about how they could strengthen that. And we supported them with submitting a successful 3-year national lottery bid for a community garden, which is brilliant. And here is our team. We have Mark and myself, and we've got Razak, who helps with the films. We've got Francesca, who's also a fantastic advisor, Natasha, Yasmin, who's brilliant as well, and Simon, who focuses really and has phenomenal experience in income generation, and again Monash, who supports us through being able to put that support together. So that's really it.
Thank you, Sadia.